When you look at a chimpanzee or maybe a gorilla, what do you truly see? Is it a distant relative looking back, or maybe a kind of echo of ourselves? Or is it something completely alien, totally separate?
Yeah, it's a fundamental question, isn't it? How much do we really know about our own place in that huge primate family tree?
It's just inherently captivating, this whole idea of human identity and, our connection to the natural world.
It really is. It's a question that, well, it's puzzled thinkers for centuries, hasn't it? It sort of invites us to look into our own biological mirror
That inherent curiosity about who we are, where we came from.
and how we fit in with everything else around us. That's what drives so much of the science, really.
And that's exactly our mission. We're going to take you on a bit of a journey through human evolution, focusing specifically on how our species, well, fits into the primate family.
We'll revisit some of those early, really groundbreaking scientific comparisons.
Yeah, and then bring in the cutting edge stuff from genetics, primatology, and really try to figure out where that continuity lies and where the genuine distinctions are between us and our closest relatives.
And it's important to say this isn't about finding simple answers, right?
Hmm.
There are no easy, aha, that's the one thing.
Definitely not. The goal is more of a nuanced understanding, what really makes us us.
It's about appreciating the whole incredible tapestry of life and seeing our own intricate thread within it without, oversimplifying the complexity.
And to do that, we're grounded in some really foundational texts. Obviously, Darwin's The Descent of Man is crucial.
Absolutely. Can't really talk about this without Darwin.
But we're also bringing in decades of field data, the amazing insights from modern genetics, and what leading evolutionary anthropologists are thinking right now.
The aim is to give you a comprehensive picture, but keep it accessible. No information overload.
Right. We promise some of those profound aha moments that might just shift how you think about being human.
It really shows how far science has come, building on those early observations with tools and understanding that, well, Darwin couldn't have imagined. We can ask much deeper questions now.
So, if we want to understand our unique place, where better to start than with the first scientist who really truly dared to connect us directly to the animal kingdom? Let's dive back into Darwin.
Let's do it. His insights really set the stage for everything that followed.
Okay, so Darwin. The Descent of Man, 1871. It's a landmark work, and in it, he spends a lot of time on the affinities, the similarities between humans, apes, and monkeys.
Which was just revolutionary for the time. You have to remember the context.
Absolutely. Before Darwin, the thinking was generally a much sharper division. Humans were seen as fundamentally separate, often for, well, theological reasons, sort of on a pedestal.
Right. That anthropocentric view was deeply ingrained. So Darwin's observations, his arguments, they were radical. He was essentially saying, with evidence, look, we're part of this natural world, not separate from it.
And that intellectual leap, it just laid the groundwork for all modern evolutionary studies of humans. It kind of opened the door, didn't it?
It really did. It freed up scientific inquiry. And what's amazing is how detailed he was, even then, about the shared anatomical blueprint.
Yeah, he wasn't just waving his hands. He pointed to specifics, similarities in the general form and proportions of the skull structure, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Even subtle things.
Yeah.
And the layout of the bones and joints in our limbs, you see that same basic plan across primate species. Modified, of course, but the foundation is there.
And it wasn't just the big bones either. He talked about facial muscles, right? The underlying structure that allows for expressions.
Exactly. Expressions of surprise, fear, anger. He saw parallels in other primates that suggested a common emotional root, expressed through similar musculature.
And then the really key traits, the ones people often think of as primate traits.
Like opposable thumbs. Crucial for grasping, manipulating things. Tools, branches, food.
And forward-facing eyes. Vital for depth perception. You need that if you're living in trees, judging distances for jumps.
Absolutely, stereoscopic vision.
Yeah.
And similar dental formulas, too, suggesting shared dietary histories or adaptations.
So thumbs, eyes, teeth. Darwin used all these concrete examples to argue for this shared ancestry, these common adaptations that stuck around through evolution.
It underlined that we weren't just some random, unique creation. There was a pattern, a lineage, a deep connection, rooted in shared evolutionary history. These features imply common descent.
They tell a story about the basic toolkit for primate life being established way back, maybe tens of millions of years ago.
And then tweaked over time.
Yeah.
Sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically, depending on the environment and the evolutionary path. We still carry that ancient blueprint.
And it wasn't just the physical stuff, the bones and teeth. Darwin also saw these fascinating behavioral echoes, things that showed complex behaviors weren't exclusively human.
Right. Even back then, he noted what we now call rudimentary tool use. Maybe not with the detail Jane Goodall later provided, but he was aware of observations.
Like chimps using sticks to fish for termites, or using stones to crack nuts.
Precisely. And that was a pivotal observation. It showed that problem solving, adapting your environment to your needs, that wasn't unique to us.
It suggested a spectrum of intelligence, not some absolute wall between humans and other animals.
Exactly. The seeds of what we consider complex human behaviors, things like ingenuity, were already there, maybe in a simpler form, but present in our primate cousins.
And the social side, too. He was struck by the strong social bonds in primate groups.
Yeah, the grooming, the care for young, forming alliances, it looked very familiar.
And he saw expressions of joy, fear, aggression, comfort, things he saw as clear parallels to human emotions, suggesting a common emotional bedrock.
And then the complex social structures. Think about baboon troops, with their intricate hierarchies, defined ranks, power
It
dynamics.
sounds quite Machiavellian sometimes.
Well, it's complex. Roles dictating access to resources mates. Darwin saw these intricate social systems.
So what do these behavioral parallels really imply? Similar underlying cognitive processes, maybe?
It strongly suggests that yes, even if the scale or complexity differs, it points to complex sociality, emotional intelligence, even basic ingenuity providing real evolutionary advantages across the primate order.
Things that help with survival, finding mates, keeping the group together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It really underscores how much of our basic social wiring might be ancient shared heritage with our relatives.
Okay, so Darwin sees all these profound similarities, anatomical, behavioral, but he wasn't blind to the differences you are. He still perceived what he called a mental gulf.
Right. He acknowledged that despite the continuity, humans seem to have crossed some significant threshold.
And he pointed to specific things: complex language, the ability for abstract reasoning, a moral sense discerning right from wrong.
Those were key for him. And implicitly, things like symbolism, cumulative culture, the way our knowledge builds generation after generation, he recognized those as uniquely developed in humans.
So how did he square that? How did he reconcile this mental gulf with his theory of continuity?
For Darwin, it was mostly a matter of degree, not kind. He saw these human capacities as huge amplifications of traits maybe present in simpler forms in other primates, just developed to an extraordinary level in us.
But he was limited by the tools of his time, wasn't he?
Absolutely. He couldn't look at genetics, no brain scans, no decades-long field studies like we have now. His genius was drawing profound conclusions from the observable evidence he did have.
And that really sets the stage perfectly for where modern science comes in, because now, with all this extra data, these sophisticated techniques,
Right.
we can reevaluate those discontinuities.
Exactly. How far does the continuity really go?
Yeah.
And where do the new insights show genuine distinctions that maybe Darwin couldn't fully grasp? It's a re-examination, digging into the finer details.
Darwin gave us the framework, and now we're filling in the gaps, refining our understanding of that mental gulf.
Often finding that what looks like a gulf is maybe a quantitative difference that, well, led to a huge qualitative leap.
Okay, so moving on from Darwin's pioneering work, let's really unpack how modern science looks at these comparisons. We have vastly more data now, much more sophisticated techniques.
It's a huge difference. Darwin identified the big patterns with the tools he had. Now it's like we have this incredibly powerful magnifying glass, advanced imaging, molecular biology, decades of field work, things unimaginable in the 19th century.
And this lets us make much more advanced anatomical comparisons. Let's start with the brain and skull. We know humans have these significantly expanded frontal lobes.
Right. The bits associated with higher level functions, complex planning, decision-making, sophisticated social thinking.
But it's not just a simple case of bigger is better, is it?
Not at all. That's the crucial insight. While our frontal lobes are especially large, great apes also have proportionally large brains compared to their body size, relative to many other animals. It suggests a broader primate trend towards more cognitive horsepower.
So it's more nuanced than just overall size.
Exactly. It's about the organization, the relative size of specific regions. Think of it like an orchestra. You might have similar instruments, but rearrange the sections, change the conductor, use a different score, you get a totally different sound.
That's a great analogy.
Even small changes in how the brain develops, its structure, can lead to really significant functional differences in what an animal can do.
So the basic blueprint might be shared, but the execution, the emphasis, profoundly different. Okay, what about the skeleton? Pelvis and limbs, and that defining feature, bipedalism.
Ah, yes, walking upright on two legs. Obligate bipedalism.
That is a true hallmark of the hominid lineage, unique to us.
It fundamentally reshaped our whole skeleton, didn't it? Over
Yeah.
millions of years. Completely. Our pelvis got broader, shorter, more like a basin to support our organs. Our thigh bones, the femurs, angle inwards, so our knees and feet are under our center of gravity.
Mm.
Makes walking efficient.
And our feet changed dramatically too. Arches becoming rigid levers.
Right, no longer grasping feet like apes. They became platforms for pushing off. These are profound shifts, each with a cascade of consequences.
But it's interesting, the source notes that chimps do walk bipedally sometimes, occasionally, like when they're carrying something or maybe showing off.
Exactly. And that's where you see that continuity meeting innovation. That occasional bipedalism suggests the underlying potential of the capacity for upright walking was likely there in our common ancestor.
But in our lineage, it just got amplified, became the main way of getting around.
Precisely. It became obligate. And the evolutionary advantages in the environments our ancestors faced were huge. Free hands, it's massive. Carrying tools, food, infants.
Increased energy efficiency too, right? For covering long distances on the savanna.
Yes, potentially more efficient for long-distance travel, especially when resources were spread out. And better thermal regulation, less body surface exposed to the hot sun. Crucial in open environments.
Of course, there were trade-offs, anatomical challenges.
Oh, definitely. Increased strain on the lower back, the complexities of childbirth due to that reshaped pelvis and narrower birth canal. Evolution always involves trade-offs. But the benefits of bipedalism clearly outweigh the costs for our ancestors.
So an existing capacity pushed to an evolutionary extreme. Okay, let's shift from anatomy to behavior, tool use. We know other primates use tools, but how does human tool use really go beyond the basics?
This is a classic example where a difference in degree becomes a profound difference in kind. We see amazing primate examples, chimps making those termite fishing sticks, stripping the leaves just right.
Or capuchin monkeys using stones to crack nuts, even selecting specific stones.
Incredible problem solving. But the human distinction, the real leap, is that only humans seem to fashion multi-step tools with highly specialized purposes, and crucially tools to make other tools.
Right, so it's not just finding a good stick, it's crafting a stick into a spear. Or taking a rock, carefully flaking it into an axe head, then figuring out how to attach it to a handle.
Exactly. What's the cognitive leap there? It requires foresight planning, multiple steps ahead. It requires understanding the properties of materials, how this stone flakes, how strong that plant fiber is.
And the ability to combine different components in a specific sequence to get the tool you want. It's complex design.
It is. It implies a mental template, a blueprint of the final product.
Yeah.
Compare a chimp picking a suitable digging stick to an early human napping a stone core with another stone to create a sharp edge, maybe hafting it onto a wooden handle using processed sinew. That's a different cognitive realm. That's cumulative technology.
Where each generation can build on the last innovation. Yeah, that feels like a profound distinction. What about communication versus language? Primates communicate, obviously. Alarm calls, gestures.
Highly sophisticated systems. Specific calls for specific predators. Leopard, eagle, snake.
Yeah.
Food calls, social greetings, dominance displays. It's complex and vital for their survival.
But what's the fundamental difference compared to human language?
The key is what linguists call open-ended syntax and grammar. Primate systems, while complex, are largely fixed. They refer to immediate things, usually in the present. They lack the ability to combine discrete units like words in potentially infinite ways to create entirely new meanings.
So a monkey might have a call for eagle, but it can't say, "Remember that eagle we saw yesterday by the big rock? I wonder if it will come back today."
Precisely. That kind of displacement, talking about things not immediately present, and that kind of combinatorial creativity is unique to human language.
Sure.
It allows for complex narratives, abstract concepts like justice or tomorrow, and the transmission of incredibly detailed cultural knowledge.
So it's not just communication, it's a tool for complex thought itself.
Absolutely. That open-ended syntax lets us describe the world, yes, but also imagine possibilities, plan futures, reflect on the past, teach intricate skills. It's foundational for so much else that makes us human. A true cognitive revolution.
And you can immediately see how that feeds into the scale of social complexity. Primates have complex societies, sure. Macaque hierarchies, gelada harems.
Intricate stuff, maintaining rank, managing alliances.
But humans, We create these incredibly vast social networks, thousands, millions of people, complex cooperative structures, intricate divisions of labor.
It's a staggering difference in scale. And think about the cognitive and emotional demands of managing that. We rely on abstract concepts, trust, reputation, shared rules like laws or norms, often with people we've never even met.
How do we even do that?
Well, it's part of the human miracle, isn't it? It requires incredible social intelligence, the ability to infer intentions, understand complex reciprocal relationships, cooperate based on abstract agreements, money, nations, religions. These shared fictions allow cooperation on a massive scale, far beyond what any other primate can achieve.
With huge benefits like collective problem solving, massive resource acquisition.
But also huge challenges. Conflict resolution, maintaining cohesion. It's a constant balancing act. But that level of social organization, built on shared abstract concepts, is utterly unique.
So, okay, these comparative studies showed the building blocks are there, the continuity is real. But you said the real revolution in understanding uniqueness comes from the genes.
Yes, peering into the code itself. That's where things get really, really interesting.
Right, the genetics. This is where the modern understanding really takes off, isn't it? And the headline finding is just staggering. Humans and chimpanzees share somewhere between 96 and 99% of their DNA in the coding regions.
It's an incredible number. And when we say coding regions, we mean the parts of the DNA that actually contain the instructions for building proteins, the machinery, the structural parts of our cells.
So at that fundamental level, the blueprints are almost identical.
Astonishingly so. It confirms Darwin's idea of common ancestry at the molecular level with breathtaking precision. It's not just a theory based on bones, it's written in our molecular code.
It really is a moment of awe. Think about it. We are that similar at the deepest level, yet look how different our lives, our capabilities seem.
It forces you to ask, what's going on in that tiny percentage difference, that 1 to 4%? Because clearly it makes a world of difference.
And that's where the story gets really compelling, right? It's not just random differences.
Not at all. While the overall similarity is huge, specific gene regions show signs of rapid divergence since we split from our common ancestor with chimps around 6 or 7 million years ago.
So evolution was working much faster on certain parts of our genome than others.
Exactly. And these areas aren't random. The sources highlight genes involved in really crucial areas: brain development, speech, and immunity.
Okay, why those areas specifically? What does that tell us?
It tells us where the strongest selection pressures were acting on our lineage. Think about it. The brain underpins our complex cognition, problem solving, memory. Speech, or the capacity for it, is fundamental to our language and culture. And immunity. Well, as our ancestors lived in larger groups, moved into new environments, encountered new diseases, maybe changed diets, having a robust and adaptable immune system was critical.
So these are the areas where changes really mattered for survival and reproduction in the unique human niche. This accelerated divergence means evolution was tinkering intensely there.
You could call it evolutionary fireworks in those specific regions. Intense pressure driving rapid change.
And it's not always about inventing completely new genes, is it? This idea of regulatory changes seems key, especially these things called human-accelerated regions, or HAREs.
This is a hugely important concept. It turns out that many uniquely human traits probably don't come from brand new genes doing brand new things. Instead, they come from changes in gene expression.
Okay, gene expression, like turning genes up or down or on or off at different times.
Precisely. Think of it like having the same cookbook that's the shared DNA, the genes, but you change when you add an ingredient, how much you use, or maybe you use it in the brain instead of the liver. You tweak the recipe instructions. That's gene expression controlling how the genetic information is actually used.
And HARs are like specific instructions in our human cookbook that got rewritten particularly quickly compared to the chimp cookbook.
That's a great way to put it. HAs are segments of DNA that show evidence of unusually rapid evolution, specifically in the human lineage, since we diverged from chimps. And crucially, many of these HAs don't code for proteins themselves. They act as regulatory elements.
Like dimmer switches.
Yep.
Or on-off buttons for other genes.
Exactly like that. They control when a gene is turned on during development, where in the body it's active, like in specific brain areas, and how much protein gets made. They're tweaking the developmental pathways.
It seems almost too simple, though. How can subtle tweaks in when or where a gene is active lead to massive differences, like bigger brains or the capacity for speech or nimble hands?
That's the beauty and the power of developmental genetics. Think about cascading effects.
Hmm.
A small change in a regulatory element early in brain development might lead to just a slightly longer period of neuron proliferation or slightly different migration patterns of neurons
Which could then snowball.
into a significantly larger prefrontal cortex, or different patterns of connectivity between brain regions. A tiny tweak in regulating genes involved in larynx development might enable a wider range of sounds, providing the raw material for complex speech. Small changes in hand development timing could refine muscle control for tool making.
Wow, so small genetic changes, amplified through development, lead to these huge phenotypic differences.
It's where subtle molecular tweaks can have profound cascading consequences. It bridges the gap between the genetic similarity and the obvious differences we see.
It's incredible. The genetics confirm the deep connection, but also pinpoint the molecular mechanisms behind our divergence, those subtle, powerful tweaks.
It provides the how for the differences Darwin observed, a mechanistic explanation rooted in our DNA.
Okay, so genetics illuminates how we diverged. Now let's explore the profound consequences of those shifts. What are the big cognitive and cultural novelties that really define human uniqueness?
This is where we see the downstream effects of those genetic and anatomical changes. And perhaps the most striking is what anthropologists call cumulative culture, the ratchet effect.
Right. We know chimps have traditions. Different groups might use different tools or have specific grooming customs.
Absolutely. There's cultural variation transmitted socially. But the key difference is that chimp traditions tend to be quite stable. They don't really build significantly on previous generations to become more complex or efficient over time.
A chimp group might use the same termite fishing technique for centuries, right?
Yeah.
Without much modification.
Pretty much. There's innovation, but it doesn't seem to accumulate in the same way. Humans, on the other hand, we build multi-generational technologies and knowledge systems,
From the simplest stone tools, which themselves evolved slowly over time,
like the old wand choppers to the more sophisticated Schulian hand axes.
all the way to smartphones, particle accelerators, complex philosophies. Each generation inherits the knowledge of the past, adds its own innovations, tweaks, improvements, and passes that enhanced version on.
That's the ratcheting effect. Knowledge and technology don't just get passed along. They get incrementally improved. Mistakes get corrected. Efficiencies are found. It creates this upward spiral of complexity.
And what makes that possible? What are the cognitive gears that drive that ratchet?
It seems to require a suite of abilities. High-fidelity imitation, being able to copy not just actions but the goals behind them very accurately. Active teaching, where experienced individuals intentionally instruct novices, not just demonstrate.
And shared intentionality, that sounds important.
Crucial. The ability to understand and share goals, to collaborate with others towards a common objective, knowing that they have the same goal in mind, and the capacity to learn from others' successes and failures.
You can see how that explains the exponential growth of human knowledge and technology. It's not just individual learning, it's collective, cumulative learning over vast stretches of time.
It is. Contrast this ability of chimp tool use with the dizzying pace of human technological change over millennia, even centuries now. It's a profound qualitative leap built on those cognitive foundations, foundational for science, art, everything.
And this cumulative culture must be deeply linked to symbolic language and abstract thought, right? We talked about primate communication being complex but largely tied to the here and now.
Exactly. It lacks the grammatical structure, the syntax, needed for true abstract thought, for representing things symbolically.
And the archaeological evidence seems to back this up. When do we see clear signs of symbolic behavior?
The evidence really takes off with Homo sapiens, maybe starting around 100,000 years ago, perhaps even earlier in some debated cases. Things like intentional burials with grave goods, personal ornaments like beads, abstract engravings, and of course those incredible cave paintings.
Which suggests the minds creating these things were capable of thinking symbolically, thinking beyond the purely functional.
It strangely implies the presence of full-fledged language, a system capable of representing complex ideas, myths, beliefs, social rules, things that aren't physically present.
So why is symbolic thought such a game changer?
Because it liberates us from the immediate. It allows us to create mental models of the world, to represent concepts like the past, the future, hypothetical possibilities, social contracts, deities. We can plan complex future actions, reflect on past events, create shared narratives that bind large groups together, and transmit incredibly complex information across generations.
Language isn't just for talking, its structures are thinking.
It's a profound cognitive tool. It allows us to categorize, analyze, manipulate information symbolically. It enables us to build these incredibly complex internal and external worlds.
And you can see the feedback loop. Maybe the demands of an increasingly complex cumulative culture drove the evolution of more complex language.
That's a very plausible idea. A positive feedback loop where increasingly complex tools and social structures required better communication, which in turn enabled even more complexity. A self-reinforcing cycle propelling human development.
Okay, another major novelty: cooperative breeding and alloparenting. This sounds quite different from most other primates.
It's a really distinctive feature of human social structure. Alloparenting means childcare provided by individuals other than the biological parents. Think grandmothers, aunts, uncles, older siblings, even unrelated community members.
Whereas in most primates, the mom does almost all the work.
Overwhelmingly so, which is incredibly demanding and often leads to long intervals between births. In humans, it's much more of a communal effort. The "it takes a village" idea is biologically rooted for us.
And what's the impact of that? How did this cooperative breeding fuel human success?
Several profound impacts. First, it likely allowed human females to reproduce more frequently. If others are helping care for your toddler, you can potentially have another baby sooner. This fuels population growth.
But it's not just about numbers, is it?
No, perhaps even more importantly, it enhances cultural transmission. Children with multiple caregivers have more opportunities to learn, to absorb social norms, language, complex skills. It supports our unusually long childhood and developmental period.
Which is essential for absorbing all that cumulative culture we talked about. You need time and you need teachers.
Exactly. Multiple teachers, multiple role models. It fosters this deep cooperative ethos and allows for the extended learning period that is absolutely characteristic of humans and necessary for becoming a competent member of a complex society.
And that ties beautifully into the last point here: extreme longevity and the grandmother hypothesis. Humans live long past their reproductive years, which is unusual.
Very unusual for primates. Most female primates don't live long after they stop being able to reproduce. Human females, however, often live for decades post-menopause.
And the grandmother hypothesis suggests this isn't just a random byproduct, but has an evolutionary advantage.
Precisely. The idea is that post-reproductive grandmothers play a crucial role by helping their own offspring raise their children, the grandchildren. They can provide food, childcare, and crucial knowledge.
So they directly increase the survival and success of their grandchildren and thus their own genetic legacy.
Exactly. By helping their daughters and sons raise more offspring successfully, they contribute significantly to the lineage. It frees up the younger generation to forage, hunt, or have more children themselves.
So it's not just about living longer, it's about what that extra time enables socially and culturally. The value of wisdom, experience.
Absolutely. What are the advantages? Grandmothers are repositories of accumulated knowledge: where to find water in a drought, how to prepare specific foods safely, intricate social knowledge, medicinal plant lore, storytelling. They are vital cultural transmitters.
Further fueling cumulative culture and strengthening those social bonds, it makes perfect sense.
It's a unique strategy that maximizes the success of the group, reinforcing cooperation and knowledge transfer across generations.
So pulling these novelties together: cumulative culture, symbolic language, alloparenting, longevity. These really do feel like genuine discontinuities, don't they? Qualitative leaps.
They built upon the primate foundation, absolutely, but they significantly transcended it. It's not just more of the same, it's fundamentally different in kind.
It's like a whole new recipe emerged, using familiar ingredients but creating something astonishingly different.
That's a perfect way to summarize it. It leads us right into the synthesis.
Okay, let's synthesize all this. The big takeaway seems to be that human uniqueness isn't about having totally new parts, but about an extraordinary scaling up and crucially interweaving of the basic primate building blocks.
Exactly. We didn't invent sociality or intelligence out of nothing. We amplified them, integrated them, connected them in new ways, pushing them to unprecedented levels.
And it's the interconnections that are so key, isn't it? These traits aren't isolated.
Not at all. They're profoundly interconnected and mutually reinforcing. Language makes complex cumulative culture possible. Alloparenting supports the long childhood needed to learn that culture. Grandmothers use language to transmit cultural knowledge while providing childcare. It's a dynamic system.
A complex, self-reinforcing system where each part boosts the others. like a positive feedback loop driving our evolution.
Precisely. And what ignited that loop? What were the evolutionary catalysts, the specific pressures that pushed our lineage down this unique path?
What drove the refinement of these capacities from, relatively modest primate beginnings?
The consensus points to a combination of factors, a sort of perfect storm of selection pressures. Dietary changes were likely huge, incorporating more meat, eventually cooking. That provides high-energy food, crucial for fueling big, metabolically expensive brains.
And climate change, unstable environments.
Yes, major climate fluctuations likely played a big role. Environments became less predictable, forcing our ancestors to become more adaptable, more innovative, better cooperators, better at sharing knowledge quickly to survive.
So adaptability and resourcefulness were strongly selected for. And what about the social pressures?
As groups got larger and denser, the social landscape itself became more complex. Managing relationships, coordinating actions, resolving conflicts. These pressures would have strongly favored individuals with better social intelligence, better communication skills, a greater capacity for cooperation and understanding social rules.
So these pressures, diet, climate, social complexity, would have favored those genetic and developmental shifts we talked about earlier, the HARs, the brain changes.
Absolutely. They create a powerful feedback loop. A small advantage in cognition or cooperation leads to better survival, more offspring, which then selects for further enhancements in those traits. It snowballs, leading eventually to this unique human package.
Yeah.
Big brains, complex cooperation, rich symbolic culture.
Igniting those evolutionary fireworks that led to art, science, civilization.
It's an incredible story, and what's remarkable is how Darwin's core insight holds up. That deep continuity between humans and other primates, it's robust. Modern science hasn't overturned it, it's profoundly validated it.
But modern science, especially genetics, has filled in the crucial details.
It reveals the mechanisms. We can now see the specific molecular changes, the regulatory tweaks like HRs that acted as the catalysts, the subtle shifts that ignited those fireworks. It gives us a level of understanding Darwin could only have dreamed of.
It really helps you appreciate the elegance of it all. How something as complex as human culture emerged from subtle changes built upon that deep, shared primate heritage. We're not a separate creation, we're an incredible continuation.
A unique improvisation on an ancient theme. It connects us deeply to the rest of life while highlighting the extraordinary path our species took.
We've journeyed quite a distance from Darwin's first daring insights about our shared heritage,
Through the modern revelations of anatomy and genetics,
to exploring those profound cognitive and cultural leaps, language, cumulative culture, cooperation that truly seem to set us apart.
it's a story, as we've said, of both profound continuity and really breathtaking innovation, all woven into that grand tapestry of primate evolution.
So, as you mull this over, here's a final thought to leave you with. If our most complex abilities emerged from relatively subtle tweaks on a shared biological foundation, what does that imply about the potential, or perhaps the limits, of future evolutionary change? And maybe more urgently, how does recognizing this deep, deep connection to our primate past shape our responsibilities towards the other species we share the planet with, especially our closest living relatives?
It's a story that invites both humility, recognizing our roots, and wonder at the unique trajectory we've taken. Knowing where we came from helps us understand where we are now.
Until next time, remember, our story is one of both profound continuity and breathtaking innovation, woven intricately into the grand tapestry of primate evolution.
Mad show, let's go, open up your mind and grow. Facts and stories, things you never know. Every episode, we light the glow. Step into the world of Mad Show. Turn it up, let the rhythm flow. Feel the beat, take control. Don't be shy, just let it go. This is where the magic grows. Tune in now, it's the Mad Show. Lights up bright and minds will glow. Every day we learn and grow. Come along and join the flow. New ideas begin to shine. Breaking limits, crossing lines. Every moment feels divine. In the world of Mad Show time. Turn it up, let the rhythm flow. Feel the beat, take control. Don't be shy, just let it go. This is where the magic Lights so bright and minds will glow. Every day we learn and grow. Come along and join the flow.